All right, what's up, you guys? UFO Proof here, and we are back at Area S4. Although it's going to be a little different this time because it appears that Google has removed the labels, the tags, indicating that this was S4 Research Facility and the S4 High Ridge Research Facility. Both tags have been removed, so thank you, Google. So as you can see here, these concrete pads are 100-foot square. And if you look closely, you can actually see a grid line pattern on these giant concrete pads. This makes perfect sense if this is a VTOL precision landing pad, which I believe that's what it's for. And that's vertical takeoff and lift precision landing. So they take crafts like helicopters or Harrier jets or some other kind of vertical lift craft, and they have them land in specific designated sections of this grid pattern, and so they can do precision landing. So it makes sense that the UFOs would have a precision landing pad directly out front of where they are to be tested. And this, I believe, to be the hangar doors, sand textured, built into the side of the mountain, directly in front of the landing pad, of the testing pad, so they could wheel it right out from the mountain directly onto the testing pad and have the pilot fly up and then land at a designated square. So you could have one side labeled, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or the other side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you could ask the pilot to land at uh, B3 and that's where you'd want to set the craft down exactly for precision landing. That's what they do with their other uh, vertical takeoff lift craft. So it makes perfect sense. Uh, as opposed to the theory of this being water guzzlers, considering I've never even heard of something like that. And I don't find it credible that there would be any sheep or goats in the middle of the mountain range, in the middle of uh, Area 51. Tell me who's herding these goats? Do they just need to water wild sheep and goats? That literally makes no sense, and that claim is absolutely outrageous and false, and shouldn't have even been brought up. As you can see, the road here itself is actually 30 feet. Some parts is actually 40 feet, so it's wide enough to bring, you know, craft on or anything, big trucks, flatbed trucks, whatever. The road is definitely big enough for a bus to go each way, no problem. Makes perfect sense, and it's hidden from the view from everywhere. So you see, its mountains are hidden all around it, so it's completely concealed from the outside world, except for obviously directly above. But when you're built into the side of the mountain, it's not that big a deal. And having concrete pads down there is not going to raise too much suspicion because, well, what does the concrete pad mean? Nothing. If there were aircraft on it, that would be interesting for another country to see, but just out there by themselves, not a big deal. So people are asking me, are you 100% sure that this is S4 Government Research Facility base? Is this a secret base? And my answer is no. It's impossible to be 100% about that. Why? Because I can't go there, neither can you. None of us can go there to verify that. Based on the evidence that I have that this is the S4 base that Bob Lazar worked at, because it was using Bob Lazar's own description of how to get to the base and using Bob Lazar's artist renditioning of what the base looked like and what area around it looked like, taking that drawing along with what he said and all directions and finding a road and following it, I came to the base. So based on all that evidence, it makes perfect sense that this is the S4 base, along with Google labeling it the S4 base. And you're probably wondering, well, why would the government come and admit that that's the S4 base? Well, you have to understand the Bob Lazar story happened 30 years ago. So the people who are doing it today, who are working with Google Earth, which they do have employees, and that's how Google Earth works, uh, labeling this stuff. And there are people at the Pentagon who give them permission to label this stuff. These guys might not have ever even heard of Bob Lazar. So to go ahead and label a research facility S4 probably wasn't a big deal because the Bob Lazar story is 30 years ago. And you got to remember, it's not like the Bob Lazar story is a super huge famous rock star. Very few people even know who Bob Lazar is. In fact, there are people in the UFO community who don't know who Bob Lazar is. So it's not like he's super famous or anything, you guys. He's just famous to us. So he seems like a rock star to us. But based on the rest of the world, he's not that popular of a guy. Most people don't even know who he is. So does it bother me that Google up and removed the label of S4? No, it doesn't bother me. In fact, all it does is validate my finding as this is a place Bob Lazar worked at. If it wasn't, if this was not the place, then I don't see any reason why they would have to go through the trouble of going and removing the label. However, if this is the actual S4 base Bob Lazar worked at, and it did upset the Pentagon once they realized what happened, and they made some phone calls to Google and asked Google to please remove the label, and Google obliged, I think it all it does is validate my finding, proving that I did in fact find the actual S4 base. And I think that's probably one of the coolest finds in recent years when it comes to ufology. Uh, there is no other evidence brought forth by any other researcher when it comes to Bob Lazar that's better than this. Nothing. This is the single best piece of UFO of evidence that supports Bob Lazar's story about working at S4 and reverse engineering alien technology. This piece of evidence is the single best piece of evidence to date, validating his story. Nothing in the Jeremy Corbell documentary, uh, nothing even from Bob Lazar's self back in the early 90s or late 80s. Nothing compares to this piece of evidence. The fact that he said that there's a secret base there named S4 that he worked at, where he researched and reverse engineered alien technology, and there is a hidden base in the mountains of Area 51 and the Nevada test site, blocked away from view, restricted area, named S4 Government Research Facility, proves Bob Lazar was telling the truth, that he must have worked there. There's no way he could have known about that place unless he worked there. I just like seeing some concrete slabs from top of a mountain still wouldn't tell you anything. You wouldn't even be interested in it. You might look at it like, oh, this is nothing more than the foundation to an old building that never got built. Whoop-de-doo. You might have no idea that there's actually a base built into the mountain. Obviously, Bob did because he, in fact, worked there. And let me tell you something. It wasn't this piece of evidence that made me believe Bob Lazar. It wasn't his. It wasn't anything in the documentary, Area 51 and flying saucers. Bob Lazar story. It wasn't anything in there. What made me believe Bob Lazar was Bob Lazar. That's all it took. Just listening to him tell his story about what happened, I could tell he's telling me the truth, that he's not lying, that what he's saying, he honestly believes to be true. Do I think he's possibly crazy and making it up? That's a possibility. I don't believe it though. In fact, what I believe is he's telling the truth. And that's all it took was just listening to him. I'm an excellent judge of character, and I can tell when people are trying to bullshit me. And I could tell that he is not trying to bullshit me. He's being serious. He's legitimate. This is where he worked. That's what he did. And it's as simple as that. But I think the rest of the world might need evidence like this to actually prove what he's saying to be true. Well, if that's what they needed, here it is. So all the other stuff, you can worry about, oh, where he was educated, all that stuff, that goes right out the window. It means nothing now because the base is there. He said it was there, and we know it is there. It does exist. So any of the stuff you want to debate about his history is mute now. It doesn't matter because we know that the base exists. We know that it's there. At least I'm 99% that it's there. Now, there is one thing that I would like to comment on, and that is people saying that I faked this, that I hoaxed this, that I made a label and put it on Google Earth so everyone can see, and I just made that up. Let's just be clear about this. We, as individuals using Google Earth, do not have the ability to make a tag or a label that the rest of the world could see. That is impossible. Yes, you can make it with Google Earth Pro on your own computer where only you can see it, but nobody else can see it. You have to understand this. If we were able to go and label whatever building we want and name it anything we want, then nothing would be called what its original name. The internet simply has way too many trolls to allow Google Earth to let people to go and name stuff whatever they want. So no, you cannot go and name a site S-4 research facility and then expect the entire world to be able to view it. That is impossible, and anyone who says otherwise is wrong. You simply cannot do it. All right? If you think that you can, I would love to see anybody prove me wrong. Go and find a building and name it whatever, give it the most ridiculous name you come up with. Go and prove it. See if it can be done. Because you can't. You'll sit there and spend hours wasting your time because it will not happen. It cannot be done. That's simply not how Google Earth operates. So the when Google named this S-4, that's because that's what its name was. So this is the S-4 site where Bob Lazar worked inside Area 51 by the nuclear test range. This is it. So I didn't hoax anything. And now I understand that, it's going to look weird now that Google had taken the name S4 off of it. But anyone who saw my original video and took the time to go and look for it knows that it was named that it is there. And they got a chance to see it themselves. So whether or not they took it down is irrelevant because too many people already know that I was right. It was there. It was named that. So there we go. Another thing I'd like to address is that I did have some friends of mine trying to debunk me. Alien scientist Jeremy was calling me out, trying to debunk me, saying that this wasn't legitimate, it wasn't S4 or whatever. But let it be known that alien scientist, this whatever he says, tried to debunk me or not, is a friend of mine. He is a cool cat. He's a friend of this channel, likes the channel. I like him. We are friends. So nothing about that is with any kind of bad intentions. And there is no problem between myself and alien scientists. We are in fact friends. So that's fine with me. But I'd also like to give big shout out and props to the friends of mine who actually went and stuck up for me and defended my position and defended my credibility because they know that I'm legitimate, that I'm honest, and that I would never do something like go and trying to hoax people and fool people into believing that this was the base unless this really was it. And so I want to give props to Third Phase of Moon for really coming and going to bat for me. I know they did more than anybody else sticking up for me and defending my position and my find and saying that he did find it. This is the base. And, you can't go around making these statements about him and saying that he faked this stuff without evidence to support that, which there is none because I obviously didn't fake it. I definitely found it. It is there. So thank you guys so much for going and stepping up and defending me. And I love you guys so much, man. And this is why we're friends. I would also like to thank Goofon Rich for coming over and joining me in a live stream discussing this my find in this case. And what I thought was really cool was the fact that Rich was really on the fence about Bob Lazar. He didn't know whether to believe him or not. And something Rich said that was really cool was that it wasn't any of the evidence that made Rich believe him or any of the stuff against him. It was simply Bob's testimony himself. It was Bob himself who made Rich initially believe him. And then other people brought evidence against Bob that made him question it. And I just thought that was really cool because that is literally the exact same reason I believed Bob was just going off of his story. So I found it interesting that we both had the same reason to why we believed him. And I think that this evidence now has actually pushed Gufon over the line to come into saying that this is that Bob is telling the truth, that along with his testimony and how honest he seems to be, this piece of evidence I think may have pushed him over to come and join our side in saying that Bob is telling the truth. Hopefully, I don't know this for sure, but I think he's starting to come over after this piece of evidence was brought forward. I think it's really helps. So, and I want to thank him for coming and joining our live discussion. Also, I will be doing an interview with our friend Alien Addict. You guys know him, love him. He's great host. He has got a great channel. Make sure you guys go check out Alien Addict's channel, and we will be doing a interview together on his channel and my channel because I'm going to get him to come on my channel and do one with me. Period. It's happening. I don't care whether he likes it or not. He's doing it as he promised me a while ago that he would, and it always gets messed up, but we're going to make it happen. But I'm definitely going to go and do his show, and we're going to keep this discussion going. And I want to thank everyone for coming and supporting this video and showing everybody that this is S-4. I am right. I did make this fine. I put it out here, and you guys are helping me spread this message. Third Phase of Moon, Goofon, Alien Addict, everyone else, alien scientist who's putting this video out there. Go share it. Go keep it going. Let the world know Bob Lazar was telling the truth. Here is the evidence to prove it. So we know for a fact that the U.S. government is reverse engineering alien technology. The story is true now. So let's spread that word around and let everybody know that this is real. That's how it goes. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Pick up your UFO proof merchandise at Teespring. You can support me on Patreon, PayPal. But most importantly, you got to share these videos. We have to share it with everybody you can. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on Instagram, share it on TikTok. Everywhere you can, share this video. Let the world know UFO proof found S-4. See you guys next time. UFO proof out.